Hello everyone, this is Fireally, and today, well, I'm going to go talk a little bit about PMU Season 2 and kind of the process of how I made it, going from the idea to getting it on the YouTubes and all that fun stuff in between. But for the most part, I'm pretty much going to focus on talking about the editing, because you don't really see that too much, but you're gonna kind of get a bunch of the behind the scenes stories along the way. This video is probably going to be mostly unedited, like I might just throw up some visuals of the game while I do this or something like that, or I might even pull up some of the editing stuff, because that can get pretty intense, especially the closer and closer we get to the finale. But yeah, so pretty much starting from the beginning. With Season 1, I didn't feel like we did the game too much of a justice, because we were just kind of fooling around most of the time, and we didn't really have enough people to really get through it, and it didn't help matters that Devin was just kind of doing whatever, and Trax died really early on, so it's pretty much the series only really had a significant focus on me and Fuzzy, and then Fuzzy died, and then I just kind of collapsed somewhere else. So I thought I would go and do the game more justice and build up the team to have more people in them, because I felt like that was kind of a requirement, because death was apparently really common. Come to learn that Jailbreak Tunnel was about 10 times harder than I was expecting, even in the rerun. But when I actually started editing it, like just kind of going from episode, well, not really when I started editing, but when I knew I would have to start editing soon, a little bit after we had finished recording. And by the way, this was still roughly in the time where the X-Nuzlocke was starting to come into mind, and I was like, maybe I should try this out, and then I dragged Oron into that. So yeah, he actually appeared in PMU, and chronologically first, and then the X-Nuzlocke. This was recorded before that even came out, or was even thought of. Recorded. Whatever. The words. Yeah. So at the start of this, I was teaching Oron how to use GIMP, because he wanted to do some graphics design stuff. So what ended up happening was, after I taught him a bunch of stuff, and he picked up on things pretty quickly, and I was able to help him do that. But then I started to get curious, because I didn't have any inspirations for my layout. I just knew I didn't really like where it currently was, because with the layout, it was kind of like this blue bar thing that you see with PMU and Hardcore Mind Z Season 3 and 2 and 1. And so it's like, well, that blue bar is okay, but it kind of does lack the entire zing I was going for, which, those movies where, you have like the interface and you get these little comms channels with all the people running around. It's like, they have cool sound effects for it, just like that. And I wanted it to be a little bit like that, so that's why those ended up that way. So when I saw them now, I was just kind of like, we could probably do better than that. So I asked Oron, hey, if you were going to make the outline for the map, what would you do? So he gave me a prototype, because I just wanted to have some ideas to bounce off of. Well, what you see in front of you is the prototype. That was what the first thing he gave me, and I was like, this is too awesome, man, I'm gonna use this. Like, I don't know how he did that. He told me he wanted to do something a little bit more quote-unquote realistic. We ended up with that. Now in Hardcore, you kind of have to know that there's this little push and pull between roleplay and not roleplay. If you don't have enough roleplay, you don't have enough immersion to kind of keep the audience interested. But if you go too far into the roleplay, you're going to start making things too complicated, or make it more like a movie than, just people having fun with Hardcore. And then at the same time, you kind of have this aspect with the players, how much we want to delve into the players. For example, the last map had the Pokemon icons for the people, and in this one I had the player icons. Kind of that right there. Do we focus on the player or the character that they're playing is kind of the idea here. And Pokemon, especially Mystery Dungeon, is pretty easy to get a role play into it, and so I felt like with the map right there, that would be a pretty good way to immerse into it while still showing off the players, because I wanted I want guest stars to kind of be able to be easily recognized if they ever come back in a future season, you know, from that icon, so it makes it a bit quicker for someone to pick up on. And so that was kind of the idea behind all that right there. And if anyone was really wondering, these icons came from RPG Maker. Devin makes them, but we don't. I asked him about it. He's like, don't put me in the credits because then people can assume I draw. Because RPG Maker pretty much just gives you a template and you make sprites out of it, and that's about it. The EULA says you have to make a game out of it, so naturally Devin, he gets like a 2-for-1 with this. He can make a fan game and he can help us out with this, so he kind of has fun with that. Also, going to like the beginning, we have the trailer, and the trailer actually took a lot longer this time than I was actually expecting. Like, I spent maybe a week or two. Actually, what am I talking about? It probably took three weeks. Like, I actually got the footage before I got to the trailer, which was kind of unheard of. I usually have to wait like a month at least to get my footage from everyone because, you know, it has to get to me somehow for me to make a perspective out of it. So I usually have to wait for that just because everyone has different schedules and they can only upload so much at a time. But I actually got all of this stuff within like 3 days, which was crazy. And so I was like, well, maybe instead of waiting for footage this time, maybe I'll spend this time to create assets, you know, because I want to make this a bit more professional as we go. And I with our new guest stars, with, you know, Oran and Cilia, we've got we've got different skills to pull off of now, which is kind of cool. Everyone has kind of like their own skill set in a way. And Trax actually created the dead art. Yeah, that's not an RPG Maker. That was him drawing X's over people's eyes and modifying the face a little bit. How those came into play. But anyway, so with the trailer, generally when I decide my trailer is actually good enough to go on the internet, it typically is because I get chills during it. And you only really get chills in it when you've got enough build-up, and then you hit a point that has a synchronization between cinematics, music, and every other element, whether it be voice, sound effects, etc. When I get that, that's when I say it's good. A good example is the Wizard 101 trailer. That one has a really awesome beginning that's just like, whoa, you know. But or even like the Pokemon theme song with Kalos' "Yeah, you're my best friend in a world we must defend." That has some really great cinematics to it, and every time I get to that point in the Kalos theme song, I always get chills. Kalos is just the best. I actually didn't get chills in the one I did here, but I always wanted to like fist pump or be like, yeah, when we got to when the beat drops and the names start flying by, which is good because that was my second draft at it. But yeah, so it took the reason why it took a few weeks was because I had to get a composer, also someone that I knew, and I was like, hey, could we get this going? And so a few weeks later we managed, and it took a few tries, you know. But then we got, you know, something that we were all pretty happy with, and I'm glad that we have our own theme now to call our own. Because up to this point, I was pretty much just using a Kevin MacLeod song or using the game music that I had at the time for a trailer. You know, that's generally been what it's been, and I'll probably continue to use the music from whatever game we move over to, because I find that's a good way to pay homage to the game, and second of all, you're likely to hear those songs anyway. So with the beginning editing stuff aside, if we can delve into some behind the scenes things that went on with the series itself. So the reason why Katie comes in at about episode 3 and has a short blip in episode 2 is because, well, one, it was, you know, I told you that she was gonna be late in the first episode, but what I didn't exactly say was it took her a few hours to get in, and then after her crash and she lost everything, that took about 3 or 4 hours to get sorted out. So believe it or not, most of Team East was actually happening well after the events of Team North went on. So there was a bunch of things that they commented on in that point where they say, oh, Firelly's dead. That actually started like really soon after they started picking up when when Katie came back as a Cyndaquil. That was one of the first things they ended up saying, and I saved it, and I just held on to that little quote there just waiting for an opportunity to use it, and then they walk past a glitched out version of me. I don't even know how I got there. That'll happen in PMU from time to time. People will just have glitched out bodies spread out randomly across the world. It's really weird. So yeah, they passed by that, and I was like, this is the perfect time to use it. And at another point, they heard the exclamation sound from Mystery Dungeon. So I grabbed that too and held on to that as well, and then used both of them at the same time. In the end, so I just kind of hoarded a few quotes from them. I don't remember exactly what they said, not what they were supposed to say when I zoom in there. I think it was something like, "Hey, there's Fireally." Yep, something like that. You know, because they already assumed I had died at that point. So yeah, that's kind of what happened there. And you can actually trace these things, by the way. If you notice, there's a few people on the server that, if you really think about it, how could they be in two places at once? That Gallade, the one that helped me get through the pass by opening the path and stuff like that. You know, how could he be in Wind and Pass and be in Treasure Town when Team East shoves off at the same time? You know? And, you know, then you have, like, that frozen guy and all that fun stuff. It's kind of fun to keep track of some of these random people. Like, if you look over it a second time, you'll start noticing these things. It took me 2 or 3 times to start picking up on, hey, this guy is here, 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 and here. How weird. My notes are spread out by, like, episode here, so I guess we'll just kind of keep rolling with that. So in episode 5, you got those spooky eyes I put up in the thumbnail. I actually did this once before with Wizard 101, but I just kind of like doing these little memes from time to time, especially in episodes I think might not have as much traffic. I put those things in there just to give it a little more emphasis. I put the evil eyes in there because of that spooky sound that played. You know, because that was really freaky. That scared the crap out of us. I still don't even know what attack triggers that or who triggered that, but it was a weird thing. So yeah, it's kind of funny because Team North is, you know, like, we're getting close to the end, and when we switched to Team East there, that is actually pretty close to their beginning. Like, that's while they're waiting for Katie to get on, I think. It was like right before Trax decided to quit recording and just waited out. So yeah, I got kind of lucky that I got both of those perspectives there. I didn't think I'd get that. Yeah, episode 6 was kind of interesting because that's where we all started to wonder if things were getting too easy with 4 people, because we had gotten like no deaths and we had gone through almost all of the locations people died in and didn't have like any issues whatsoever. And so I started to wonder if things were getting easy, and Butler made a comment about it. I didn't. The closest I got is now we are more prepared, which is where that meme comes from. That was actually Celia who inspired that. She posted a meme of the movie Hoodwinked where the goat sings, "An avalanche is coming down, I do not feel prepared." And I don't know why, but one day over voice chat, I sang that, kind of. I don't really sing, I more like scream. But she thought it was the most funny thing ever and demanded that I sing it. I didn't do that, because I didn't want to get copy struck. So instead what I did was I paid a little homage to it with the thumbnail, and so I kind of enjoyed that there because it made both an easier thumbnail and it made an inside joke able to actually be seen there. Let's see, and then episode 7, we went through the same amount of dungeons, both Team North and Team East, and then we totally got like axed off right there. Kind of funny because Devin totally jinxed us, saying he wanted everyone to live but me. So the exact opposite ended up happening, where everyone starts dying off and then I'm the last one alive. So yeah, now we're gonna go talk a bit more about the editing process again, because that's pretty much what made most of the finale and a little bit of the episode before that, where I do the preview to the finale. I had fun with that, because when I start getting to the end of a hardcore series, what ends up happening is we get to this situation where I'm running out of footage, but I still have to try and keep the episode timed so no one knows that I've died. In a ultra hardcore, like the one that Paul Soares Jr. was in, they just kind of put a blip on the screen and filled up the whole time, and then that's their last episode. You have to go to their teammates to go through it. So their hardcores are, you know, a bit different than what we've been doing here, because we just have the master version pretty much. So yeah, so that's why the most editing tends to happen near the end, is because I kind of need to add in things to, one, make it more awesome, and two, because I kind of have to, because I'm running low on footage. With the finale, I really wanted to show that unity between our two teams, mainly because we were acting separately the whole time. We didn't have much, if any, crossing over between the two of us. And so I wanted the finale to really show that we were working together. And so that's where you get that third epic zoom in, where it shows both of the paths on the same map. Because I wanted to show what each team did individually, but I wanted to say, we are still the same team. This is still Uproar all together. And so that's kind of why I did that way, because I really wanted to show that off. And then I had that zoom in there, just be like, oh, who am I gonna zoom into? Oh, it's Team East, you know, because Team East most of the time ended up being second, just because Team North had like the intro, and then so they got the first kind of go at it, and then after that it's just kind of Team East after that. And also Team East had that whole breakup going on between, you know, so far in, you got like 4 hours split in between, so it made it a bit easier to go North first, because that's all at once, and then Team East I can kind of mess around with a bit more, and if they have, you know, like 3 minutes before the 4 hour split, I can deal with that on the next episode by making it mostly Team North, which was kind of why I did it that way. But I did want to change things up, and I did notice we're having a lot of north action on the way. Kind of always hard to know what to do in hardcore. Do you do half an episode for one team, half for the next? Or do you do one full episode for one team and one full episode for the next team? You know, it's really a hard juggle to do. In one way, you get a little bit of everything, and then it's a bit of freak out. But on the other hand, if you start alternating episodes, people then have to wait for their favorite team, and you can kind of keep them interested as you go along. Or a third option you could do, which is done in Peanut Butter Gamer's Mindsy Hardcore, the first one, where you don't even focus on the second team until things get critical with the first team, and then you pull back and just focus on the second team for the second half of the series. That was a very interesting one to do, and that worked really, really well for them, but I don't know if that necessarily would work well for most other hardcores, because that one, the main group was splitting off very slowly, so they were able to kind of use that to their advantage. Is like, finally got down and split off enough, you focus on the fractured points of them, or the first death really was their signifier of when to do that. It was very interesting, and it was also like a freak out, because up until that point you're just like, what happened to the other team members? Because you don't know. You're expecting to just hear they died eventually. So it's kind of cool to have that. But again, that only really worked for that one hardcore. And really, now that I think about it, that hardcore is really the only Mindsy hardcore that was like off the charts amazing, because of just everything that happened in there and the decisions they had to make. Generally with Mindsy hardcores, you pretty much ended up with something more like our season 3 or their season 2, where you have little to no death until you get there, and then everyone dies when you get there. You pretty much just do Mindsy to lose. Like, it's that hard. It's just really, really difficult. So I went off on a tangent there, but back to the actual editing. I'm gonna go talk about the artwork now. So Celia is an artist, and so I was curious to see what I could do with her skills in that aspect. Although I do have a bit of my own, and she's been helping me perfect them through PGL, but she's quite obviously better than I am at it. And she can do backgrounds too. I don't know how to do backgrounds yet, so I just need to get a drawing tablet, really. Anyway, again, stay focused. I decided to take a risk there with putting in some art, because I want this series to kind of grow and get more professional as we go, so I want to use whatever skills I can in whatever way I can. So I was like, well, I'm just running around in circles. It's not exactly the most exciting footage ever. So what if I put art in there instead, just kind of focusing on pretty much what you're going to hear. I actually did legitimately feel sad right there. You could probably do a psychology test on hardcore and the twisting of people's emotions as they go through it. But yeah, so I asked her to do some art, and so naturally I kind of sometimes I'll hide what actually happened to me just so my team has a reason to watch it, because I'm mean like that. So I had her do some art of the end of the series, and it was like, draw a Shinx looking into the northern lights with a few glaciers with tears in his eyes, because even though I wasn't crying, I was, sad at that point, because like, what do? I have to carry this by myself. And at that time, Team East was still going. And so I didn't even know if they would make it, and I wasn't able to really tell them because I had to go like really soon when I closed that off. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure if I'll continue doing art of the last scenes or anything like that, or maybe have Celia actually draw our icons. I kind of like sticking with the RPG Maker stuff because it's just really easy to get going, because Devin just really gets a feel for someone's voice and throw something out, and they'll have like their own different twists and things that way, and we don't have to think or act terribly hard to get it done. We do have to, put forward the effort, but we don't have to, wait like 3 weeks for someone's face to come back to me so I can go and actually start editing, because I don't know how long it would take to get the art done. It all depends. So I find it easier to do the RPG route for that. But as far as the art is concerned, I didn't really get too much feedback on it. So yeah, that's kind of the situation with the art. I'm kind of up for grabs. We'll see if I keep doing that, or if we'll do like art for everyone's like deaths. I'm not really sure what the future holds for the artwork, but we'll just kind of see how things go. So with the closing credits, because I actually do need to do credits now, because we have Tom doing the theme song and Celia doing the artwork. So now I sort of have to build up this list of credits here. And so I had 2 different ideas go through my head for the editing on this. One was just regular credits scrolling up, and then the other one was that end card one, and I ended up going with the end card one because I didn't think anyone would really care too much to actually stick around with the credits. And then also the one with the end cards would have a lot more noise to it, so you'd have the one part that says here's the other hardcores you can watch, and then the other side says here's the people, and then it had the art in the background. That was kind of fun. So like, I don't know if you've ever played Mega Man Star Force 3 or more than likely Pokemon X and Y. They show up pictures at the end of their credits, and I guess Sun and Moon did that too. But they show a bunch of pictures at the end of their credits to show things off. And so I've kind of felt like doing the same thing, just kind of have this credits scroll up, and then different character portraits would come and go. So eventually I'm hoping that I'll have all of the hardcores with end cards on them be able to loop to all of the other hardcores, so it's just kind of like this network of things that you can just travel from one to another. Final remarks. I probably spent at least 10 hours working on the first 2 minutes of PMU Season 2's finale, because I wanted it to be really darn good. I've had ideas for like this map thing before. I just was like, that's a lot of work, but I was like, you know what, let's go all out. I think I want to see how far my idea can take me, and that was a lot of fun. And it was also hard to get that balance between the visuals, because I had to get enough of it so you could focus on either one but not have one overpower the other, if you get what I mean. The visual of the actual event, and you can focus on that, but I had to make it so it was transparent enough that you could also look at the map and focus on the map the whole time. So I ended up watching that like way too many times, trying to make sure I always had that consistency there, and it actually came out really well. And you can do that, so if you want to give yourself some excitement, you can watch it again and focus on just the map, because I imagine that it's more natural to focus on the visuals because they move a bit more. I might actually show like how many keyframes that is. Like, it's just like this giant wall of polygons representing the keyframes, and it's just like, yep, that took me like 10 hours, guys, but I think it was well worth it in the end, because with this one I was like, no holding back, I'm gonna axe out any and all laziness. Believe it or not, editors can feel lazy and not want to throw things up on stuff. I ended up re-rendering things like 4 or 5 different times to make sure that this came out really well, and I think I did a pretty good job with it. I'm pretty happy with how PMU ended up in the end. So that really is like the key point with like any editing thing is don't get lazy and feel like, well, I could do this. Follow those ideas. Little bursts of inspiration don't happen with everything. If it happened, it probably was for a good reason. You should act on it, you know, unless it really is just too much work, because I've had that happen as well. It's those little things that take you like an extra 10 minutes to put together and only lasts for 2 seconds that people end up remembering the most. And it really is what separate your stuff from anyone else's stuff, is because a lot of people on YouTube, especially gameplay people, tend to do very little or no editing at all with their stuff. Like, they might throw some music on in the background, but for the most part, I feel like people don't even cut their footage anymore half the time, which is really sad. You know, like, they'll just quit recording, record again, and they'll just put in whatever they have recorded. They don't actually like chop out things from their footage like I do. I chop out plenty of things from my footage all of the time, because the idea is you want to stay interesting. If you're not interesting anymore, people will just kind of click away, you know, and kind of with good reason. But you know, you don't want to have like a bunch of good stuff and then have some parts in the middle that are kind of meh, you know, where it's just like really, really boring. And that's kind of why I avoid doing Minecraft hardcores as well, is because the first 10-20 minutes of Minecraft, or it's more like the first hour really, of Minecraft is just so boring. Like, you're literally walking into it. Every time you start up a Minecraft world, you gotta hack down trees with your fists, you gotta go dig into a cave, and then you gotta go mine the things. And with hardcore, sometimes good jokes come out of that, but it's like, I have to show how we progress, but at the same time, it's like, I've seen this and done this 100 times over. I don't want to see that again, because it's the same ding dong door ditch thing. It's when things start splitting off that when it's alright. That's why we did Twilight Forest as well. Twilight Forest is rare, it hasn't been done in that style before. And it worked out pretty well because they have a good amount of surface materials, and we were able to gear up quickly. And there was a lot of points where things got really intense because Twilight Forest has all of these new things that half of the team hadn't even seen. And so it made it a lot more interesting because they had to go find out how you deal with these things and how you keep progressing with it. I'm rambling again, so that's probably a good time to end things off because I've recorded 21 minutes longer than I've intended. That means I actually will have to edit this or re-record it. One of the two. So there's just kind of some thoughts I had bulleted down and just rambled about for the PMU season 2 stuff. So yeah, just let me know what you think. I've always enjoyed behind the scenes videos, and so I thought I'd try and do one myself. I don't think I'm particularly all that great at them, but who knows, maybe I'm selling myself short here. I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video or in the next hardcore if you want to wait that long. Have a good one.
Oh, Firelly's dead.
Oh no. Yeah, so we've just been sitting here because PMU takes a while to download. And we've just been watching as everybody dies. It's kind of funny.
Oh dang, I'm gonna die!
Don't do that.
What, scream?
Are you sure you want to give up? It will count as a defeat.
Yeah.
Why is it asking?
I don't even know.
Wow. No, we spawned in a terrible place. We should have ran.
I couldn't. We were surrounded. We couldn't move.
Couldn't move either.
That sucks.
I'm so mad.
We're all good.
Sucks.